Once upon a time, there was a land where the sun was sacred. That land was Egypt. Today, Egyptians offer you their most precious treasure, the sun. Nothing compares to Egypt.
Have you ever looked for a hotel online? Did you notice that there's so many prices out there for the exact same room? Well, Trivago does the work for you and instantly compares prices for over 600,000 hotels from over 100 different websites. So instead of searching for hours and spending too much, Trivago makes it easy to find the ideal hotel for the best price. Just go to Trivago.com, type in where you want to go, and with 2 clicks, select your check-in, your check-out dates, and search. It's that simple. Trivago searches hundreds of websites at the same time and shows you the most popular hotels. You can adjust the price so that it fits in with your budget, and select the number of stars, or filter by average guest rating from over 34 million reviews. Remember, Trivago shows you all the different prices for the exact same room. That's how you can be sure that you find the ideal hotel for the best price with Trivago.com. Hotel? Trivago.
Sorry to announce, flight number 146 to Malaga is cancelled. Lost luggage means seeing more of your partner this trip.
Visit aatravelinsurance.com or call 0800 009 4799 because holidays break down too.
So where do you fancy then?
Asia looks good.
Yeah, but with your heart condition, we're going to have to find specialist travel insurance.
It's not a worry.
And your age, they're going to take that into account as well.
Not a worry.
You're very relaxed about it all.
I am, because it's all clear.
All clear?
All clear travel insurance.
What makes all clear so good?
They're specialists. Look, they've helped cover over 2.5 million people with over 1,300 medical conditions.
So all clear, do it all?
It's true. That's why all clears say all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations. And they're great value too.
Well, you've got it all sorted.
Not all sorted. You know what I'm like at packing.
Yeah. You left all your pants at home last year.
All clear travel insurance, all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations, always great value. Check our 20% savings offer. Call 0808 178 2706 or visit our website.
You don't need travel insurance. You can just leave things in the hands of fate. Or you could just check the box. Protect your trip with Allianz Travel Insurance.
Life's too short to skip vacation. Sometimes you've just got to say,
Book it.
Book it.
Book it.
With an epic range of hotels, houses, yachts, yurts, and more, Booking.com makes it easy to find the perfect place for you.
Booked it.
Booked it!
Booked it!
So don't skip it, book it at Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
Good morning, welcome to Rise and Shine. You're listening to Shebs on the only dedicated travel radio station in Africa, Gallivant Radio, where you can discover Africa's vibrant travel industry. And a very good morning to you all. Yes, it's another day, another show, and we've got a fantastic show for you today. I have a very good friend of mine who is coming to us from the United States today. She is a original podcaster, I must add. She was one of the very first travel radio podcasters, and in fact her platform is called the Travel Radio Podcast, as she was, I think she once put it to me when I brought her on and I interviewed her. She said not even Rick Steve, who is quite well known in the United States as a travel professional, even he didn't have a podcast at the time. And we'll be discussing her success that she's had with the podcast, and also I wanted to bring her on because she actually lived in Africa for a bit, and what was her perception, and what do others in the travel industry make of the perception, or I guess the perception that they have of Africa in the Western media or the Western world. And I'll be discussing that in the second hour. So if you would like to get in touch with me about the topic that we're going to be discussing in terms of why Africa from the Western world isn't as traveled to, or the Western world, why they think Africa isn't a place to go to, then please do. My email is shebs@gallivant.africa. That's shebs@gallivant.africa. You can get in touch with me via my socials as well, which is at Shebs the Wanderer. That's at Shebs the Wanderer. Twitter is at Shebs Alarm. Please DM me or tweet me. I will get back to you. You can follow us on all of our radio socials as well: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We've got it all. Gallivant Radio, Gallivant.radio on Instagram, I believe, but if you type in Gallivant Radio, it will come up. So we're on all the socials. Please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. If there's any topics you'd like us to discuss, please do get in touch as well. We would love to cover them on our show. Now, I just want to mention some of my colleagues, wonderful colleagues who have great shows as well. Andrea, she has a fantastic show late on. It starts at 8 o'clock Central African time till 10. And she talks to quite a few different guests about her. Well, I guess because she's from Africa, she discusses her experiences living in Africa, and she's from a place in Zimbabwe and now lives in South Africa, so she lives in Cape Town to be precise. And so she's got a fantastic show. And you got Miri, which is a business show after my show actually, comes on at 10 o'clock. She talks to a lot of professionals, which of course I do as well, but she goes into details with a few more other people that I don't have connections with, but hoping I will discuss with them at one point in the shows coming up in the future. And then you got Garth. Garth actually comes on before me. He's got the breakfast show as well, very early actually, 5 till 7, and it's well, sorry, not 5 till 7, 6 till 8, I should say. I'm thinking of my time here in the UK, 6 till 8, which is a very early morning breakfast show. Fantastic individuals. You can follow them as well actually on their socials as well, but catch their shows if you can. Great individuals. We have meetings almost every day. We chat to each other on all of our, I guess we got a WhatsApp group, so we talk to each other on there, but we do have a meeting every week about the shows and what topics to discuss with you guys. So that's them. And the news was actually something that I actually didn't discuss in my last show, and I said I was going to get to it, but I decided not to because I was going to talk to you about it today. I saw something in the news about the Ghanaian artist who created a haunting sculptures of slaves in, I think this is how you pronounce it, Accra Lake. Now, the Ghanaian artist, I think this is how you pronounce it, apologies if I'm wrong, but it's Kewemu Akoto Bamfo. That's not easy for me to say, so Kewemu Akoto Bamfo created a haunting sculptures of slaves in a lake in memory of African ancestors who drowned as they were being transported across the Atlantic as slaves. And this really caught my eye because it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I've seen the pictures and I just want to get to this place and see it for myself because it's absolutely stunning. His Ancestor Project portrays Africans who were imprisoned, kidnapped, or coerced into slavery, and it leaves we know, a lot of us know about the history of slavery and what impact did that have on the world. And as we know, there's a lot of, as he's put it there, a lot of people were transported across the Atlantic to the Americas, and I think it's an amazing. This is probably one of the most powerful projects I've seen in a very long time. And I remember seeing actually something when I was in Toronto a couple of years ago, and I remember they built sculptures or pieces of art for migrants that were, I think they were refugees crossing the borders there was a bit of a crisis, wasn't there, a couple of years ago, and a lot of them drowned, and they built, I remember vividly actually, they were orange. I think the reason why they were coloured orange was because potentially the life jackets or the life boats, or they're all in orange. And I remember that left a bit of a, I sat there just looking at it, and I thought, wow, this is unreal. Never seen anything, but this is on another level, I must say. This is, if you've not seen it yet, maybe Google Ghanaian artist who creates haunting sculptures of slaves, or slave sculptures in Ghana, and it's phenomenal, I must say. And according to the BBC News Africa, using the ancient Akan tradition of creating portraits of the dead, Akoto Bamfo wants to show people how great the community was before slavery, and that's the most important thing. The Ancestor Project seeks to use art and performance to empower, educate, and promote an interest in African heritage among the youth. So it's phenomenal, and we had Dr. Daniel Marvin tweeting, Ghanaian artist Kwame Atoko Bamfo created several sculptures in lake to remember our ancestors who drowned as they were transported through the Atlantic Sea during slavery. Tales of Africa, you put it down as. It's phenomenal. As I said to you, if you've not seen the pictures, I want to see it up there live. Hopefully I will do one day when this pandemic is over. I can travel freely without having to worry about being locked down. But yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal, and something that caught my eye, and I cannot wait to go and visit it. And maybe even if actually the artist is listening to the show now, get in touch. I would love to have you on the show. Talk to me about it. I might even get in touch with him myself actually, and see if he wants to come on and discuss the sculpture himself. It is absolutely stunning, and congratulations on the work that you've done. It's left an image in my mind anyway. So you're listening to Gallivant Radio. You are listening to Africa's only dedicated travel radio station. This is Gallivant Radio, Rise and Shine. Stay with us, we've got more to come. Top of the hour, next hour I should say, we've got Megan Chapa, Travel Radio Podcast. She'll be giving me her thoughts on her time in Africa and why people don't visit as much. This is Gallivant Radio.
Have you ever looked for a hotel online? Did you notice that there's so many prices out there for the exact same room? Well, Trivago does the work for you and instantly compares prices for over 600,000 hotels from over 100 different websites. So instead of searching for hours and spending too much, Trivago makes it easy to find the ideal hotel for the best price. Just go to Trivago.com, type in where you want to go, and with 2 clicks, select your check-in, your checkout dates, and search. It's that simple. Trivago searches hundreds of websites at the same time and shows you the most popular hotels. You can adjust the price so that it fits in with your budget, and select the number of stars, or filter by average guest rating from over 34 million reviews. Remember, Trivago shows you all the different prices for the exact same room. That's how you can be sure that you find the ideal hotel for the best price with Trivago.com. Hotel? Trivago.
Life's too short to skip vacation. Sometimes you've just got to say,
Book it.
"Book it."
Book it.
With an epic range of hotels, houses, yachts, yurts, and more, Booking.com makes it easy to find the perfect place for you.
Booked it. Booked it! Booked it!
So don't skip it, book it at Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
What does your ideal holiday look like? Just imagine it. At Expedia, we're not going to try and guess what it is. Because with our sale now on, and double Nectar points on our huge range of hotels and packages, whatever a holiday means to you, we could make it happen. Expedia. People-shaped travel. Subject to availability, sale and double Nectar points end February the 17th, 2013. Terms and conditions apply. See expedia.co.uk for details. At all protected.
Once upon a time, there was a land where the sun was sacred. That land was Egypt. Today, Egyptians offer you their most precious treasure, the sun. Nothing compares to Egypt.
This vacation has been a year in the planning. And here you are, standing, nay, staring down your dreams. The rest of your holiday hinges on the moment you walk through that door. The door opens. You hold your breath. And then you realize you got it right. You got it booking right. Because it doesn't get any better than this. It doesn't get any booking better than this. Look at the view. Look at the booking view. This is exactly what you booking needed. Bask in the booking glory at over 250,000 properties. Planet Earth's #1 accommodation site. Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
Welcome back. You're listening to Shebs Alarm on Gallivant Radio. This is Rise and Shine, your only way to kickstart your morning. Gallivant Radio, the only dedicated travel radio station in Africa, where you can discover Africa's vibrant travel industry. Remember, you can follow me in all of my socials at Shebs the Wanderer. You can follow Gallivant Radio Station, all of the socials as well. They have everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Just type in Gallivant Radio. If you want to get in touch with me via email, my handle is shebs@gallivant.africa. That's shebs@gallivant.africa. Please do get in touch about anything I've discussed so far, or I might do anyway going forward. If you've got any thoughts on any of the topics I've discussed in my past shows as well, please do get in touch. I would love to hear from you. Now, during the break actually, my colleague Andrea sent me a message to talk about, well, I guess not talk about, but to mention that in her hometown there was this article that was put out by the BBC, and it was Zimbabwe's contest that celebrates the artistry of women. Now, as I've been talking about artists in the show so far, and I was amazed by the work that the Ghanaian artist did for the slavery, but this is as impressive actually, and this is by an artist who earned herself 2 wins in the Beautiful Home contest in 2018 and 2019. And Peggy, again, apologies if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, is Masuku, put the finishing touches on the welcome sign to her homestead in southwestern Zimbabwe, Matobo district. She surveyed her handiwork, 6 months of designing and painting her huts in anticipation of an annual competition, My Beautiful Home, which recognises the most beautiful traditionally decorated homes in the district. So I guess it's another effort that we need to celebrate. It was it was a one-woman effort from what I've read, with some constructive criticism from her husband, to decorate the homestead's hut in patterns of brown, black, red, and grey. Adorned, they stood out among the orange and lemon trees and the rock garden dotted with native aloes and cactus plants. So this is, if you've not seen it, if you type in Zimbabwe's contest that celebrates the artistry of women, I must say it's absolutely beautiful, and I guess it shows you the beauty that Africa can bring you, and this is what makes Africa beautiful, and makes, I guess, why you should travel to Africa, because you can discover beautiful things like this. I mean, when you look at the colours, I'm looking at the pictures, when you look at the colours, it's staggering, and you're only going to get that in parts of Africa. The hard work that they put in, it's just amazing to see, to be quite honest with you. And yeah, I mean, looking at her story, it says here she begins painting during the dry season, which normally runs from March to October. She says, it takes me a long time to finish decorating because I have to do so many other duties at home. She has to cook on a daily basis. During the harvest season, there are crops to be picked. When she has time, she can go into the bush to look for different soils, and she has to bake some of the soils so she can get specific colours she wants. And that's the thing, you see. This is what is, when you see the work, when you get recognition, you forget that you have to do other jobs around you, and other jobs to achieve your goal. And this brings me nicely onto, I guess, a topic that I've discussed already in the past, but I'll talk to you about it again. But having to work other jobs to achieve your success is as important as anything. So you might be in the sector, or you're trying to break into the travel sector, and your aim is to be there full time. You may have to work other jobs in the meantime. You may have to graft out a legacy, and it shows you it's not easy. If it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. And her story just there, Masuko's story, is what inspires me. When I read stories like that, I go, wow, there's an individual right there who can slog. And that's what it's all about. You need to sometimes work hard, and I've not spoken about working hard actually, and I'll talk to you about it now. If you don't put your effort into it 100%, what makes you think you're gonna achieve your dream? You have to put the force into it if you want to become a success. Success doesn't come without hard work. And this is what annoys me sometimes. I think I might sound very old here, but the generation that I see coming up, especially as I've grown up in the Western world, now please tell me what it's like in Africa, because I would love to hear from you. But is society becoming more lazy and they want everything handed to them, or are there grafters out there still? That's something that I don't seem to see as much. I might be blind potentially, and if I am, please tell me if I am, but I just don't see sometimes the effort that needs to be put into achieving your dream, achieving your goal. That's plain and simple. Masuku there was doing cooking, she was picking up soil, she was going to the bushes. Yet she was still creating a piece of work which has landed a couple of awards. She's been written about in the travel section for the BBC. That's what it's all about. You need to work hard sometimes. You need to work hard to achieve your dreams. And I don't want to bore you, but my journey here, literally, I've been working 3-4 jobs, 7 days a week, almost all hours of the day, sleepless nights sometimes. That's what it requires sometimes to achieve your dream, or to at least get to a point where you can say you gave it a go. You may not necessarily accomplish the field that you're in. Or, I don't know if the word accomplish is the right word. You may not, let's just say, fulfill your potential, because there could be some obstacles, but if you work at it, if you work hard enough, I do believe that you can and you will achieve those dreams. It's just inevitable. And her story is another story that inspires me. There's 2 stories that has inspired me today in terms of the Ghanaian artist. Again, I want to go see it in Africa. I want to go to Ghana and see it in the lake. And this hut in Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe, by the way, was one of my favourite places so far I visited in Africa. And I think I almost put it right up there as one of my best places so far. And I've been to a few places in Africa so far. And I want to go back just to see that and meet this person. In fact, if she is listening, please do get in touch. I would love to have you on. We can discuss your creation. You listen to Shebs on Rise and Shine. The only way to kickstart your morning. Stay with us. We've got Megan Chapa in the next hour. She's going to be talking to me about her experience in Africa and the perception the Western media or the Western world has. This is Gallivant Radio.
You don't need travel insurance. You can just leave things in the hands of fate. Or you could just check the box. Protect your trip with Allianz Travel Insurance.
What does your ideal holiday look like? Just imagine it. At Expedia, we're not going to try and guess what it is. Because with our sale now on, and double Nectar points on our huge range of hotels and packages, whatever a holiday means to you, we could make it happen. Expedia. People-shaped travel. Subject to availability, sale and double Nectar points end February the 17th, 2013. Terms and conditions apply. See expedia.co.uk for details. At all protected.
Once upon a time, there was a land where the sun was sacred. That land was Egypt. Today, Egyptians offer you their most precious treasure, the sun. Nothing compares to Egypt.
This vacation has been a year in the planning. And here you are, standing, nay, staring down your dreams. The rest of your holiday hinges on the moment you walk through that door. The door opens. You hold your breath. And then you realize you got it right. You got it booking right. Because it doesn't get any better than this. It doesn't get any booking better than this. Look at the view. Look at the booking view. This is exactly what you booking needed. Bask in the booking glory at over 250,000 properties. Planet Earth's #1 accommodation site. Booking.com.
Yeah. So where do you fancy then?
Asia looks good.
Yeah, but with your heart condition, we're going to have to find specialist travel insurance.
It's not a worry.
And your age. They're going to take that into account as well.
Not a worry.
You're very relaxed about it all.
I am. Because it's all clear.
All clear?
All clear travel insurance.
What makes all clear so good?
They're specialists. Look, they've helped cover over 2.5 million people with over 1,300 medical conditions.
So all clear, do it all?
It's true. That's why all clear say all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations. And they're great value too.
Well, you've got it all sorted.
Not all sorted. You know what I'm like at packing.
Yeah. You left all your pants at home last year.
All clear travel insurance, all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations, always great value. Check our 20% savings offer. Call 0808 178 2706 or visit our website.
You don't need travel insurance. You can just leave things in the hands of fate. Or you could just check the box. Protect your trip with Allianz Travel Insurance.
Welcome back. You're listening to Shebs Alarm on Rise and Shine, your only way to kickstart your morning. Gallivant Radio is the only dedicated travel radio station in Africa where you can discover Africa's vibrant travel industry. Remember to follow us on all of our socials. Gallivant Radio, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube as well. We do have a YouTube channel. Do follow us on all of the socials. We want the channel to grow as much as possible so we can bring you the best news going forward in the travel industry in Africa, but not just in Africa, in the world. And you can follow me as well at Shebs the Wanderer. All of my socials, apart from actually Twitter, which is at Shebs Alarm. get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. You follow me as well. If you want to get in touch with me with a traditional way, Shebs at Gallivant.Africa is my email handle. Shebs at Gallivant.Africa is my email handle. I will reply back to you. As I've said, it's important to engage with your followers or fans or whatever you want to call yourselves, but very, very important. Now, before the break, I was talking to you about I guess I've been talking to you all show about the two artists that caught my eye, and in fact one of them was Andrea, who sent it to me during the first break, and it comes down to, as I was saying to you, hard work. And in terms of perception in Africa, this is what it's all about. You see, the beauty that you see that lies in Africa. And one of the things I'm going to be talking to Megan, my next guest, or my guest in top of the hour, is the perception Africa has in the Western media and the Western world. Why does it have sometimes a negativity? And during my last show with Sade, I spoke to her about Sierra Leone and the goal that she set out to achieve when she was in Sierra Leone. Now, this is a woman who grew up in the United Kingdom, and she told us the story about when she was in school. She was the only black woman or black girl in school, and I guess it was a bit of to her, it didn't mean anything, but for others, the kids growing up, they were like, "Oh, where you from?" Even though she's from the UK, but she identifies herself as Sierra Leone British. She says she's from Sierra Leone, even though she is British born and bred. So it shows you there is a perception, I guess, that we need to change. And I think the more Africa is in the media, the more people will have these perception disappear. I think it's just education, to be quite honest with you. When I was growing up, I remember not really having the African, education in terms of the ins and outs. And I can understand, obviously, if you are living in a country where they want to teach you their history, their culture, it's fine. But I think it's important also to teach African culture, the black culture, other cultures like the Asian culture, South American. I think it's important to teach everything. But I think it was great having her on, because she said during the show that she saw the advert on one of the well-known news network and saw Ghana being advertised, and she said to herself, "I want Sierra Leone to be advertised on there. I want people to visit Sierra Leone." And she said to herself during the pandemic, this was the height of the pandemic, where she said to herself, right, I need to get to Sierra Leone. I need to film this. I need to do something. I need to film a documentary highlighting the importance of Sierra Leone for its 60th anniversary, its 60th independence, and her ambitiousness. And this is something I've been talking about. The hard work she put in paid off. The relationship she built paid off, because she was able to achieve a goal, which was to highlight the beauty of Sierra Leone. And I've not seen the documentary as of yet. It's not aired here in the UK, and I think she said to me that her plan, or she's going to anyway, try and get networks to buy into the show and get it out there for everyone to see. And I think parts of Africa it hasn't aired yet either, but it will be very soon. If you can watch it, it's Sierra Leone at 60 when it comes out. I can't wait to see it myself, but this is what I'm telling you. If you don't put in the hard work like she did, you're not going to achieve anything. And Sade, for example, told us that she is a trained journalist, went through many different jobs, written many different articles about many different things, not necessarily in the travel sector. And sometimes to achieve a goal, you have to maybe set out and do something else that you don't want to do. As I said to you before the break, the artist who built the hut in Zimbabwe, she was doing cooking. She was having to go into the bushes, look for soils. Sometimes you have to do other jobs to get to the main one, because sometimes that's what is required. And knowing Sade, she's done the exact same thing in terms of giving her duty to the industry, and she's finally getting there in terms of where she wants to be. But she's also said to us that there's lots to do. There's still a lot of work to be done, and her vision has only just started in terms of promoting Sierra Leone in a way it should be. And what was really it struck a chord with me, actually. She said even when she visited Senegal, the neighbouring country, and when people asked her, "Oh, where are you from?" and she said, "Oh, I've come from Sierra Leone." Even the neighbouring country, Senegal, what they were saying to her, "Oh my goodness, isn't Sierra Leone, you're still at war, aren't you? How is the war going?" And she had to explain to them, the war finished 20 years ago. So even, I guess, countries, neighbouring countries, close to one another, don't know the story, don't know the news. And why is that? That's potentially it could be the fact that could be to do with the fact that they don't get the news. International news, maybe? I don't know. You tell me what it's like. I know what it's like sometimes here in the UK. You only get I guess sometimes the news that they want you to hear, because at the end of the day, so what? It's business, and I understand that. Gallivant Radio is a business. I like to cover topics that potentially others don't cover, and that's my aim anyway for the show. But why is that? Why is Senegal? Why did they not know what was going on in Sierra Leone? And that's a neighbouring country. And I think that's what we need to set out to achieve, get people more aware of countries in Africa, the story, the history. And I guess if neighbouring countries don't know what's going on, then what hope does it give for us here, me sitting here in the UK, Megan sitting in America waiting to talk to me? So that's what we need to look into, really, and change that perception. You're listening to Shebs on Rise and Shine. This is the only dedicated travel radio station in Africa, Gallivant Radio. Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages.
So where do you fancy then?
Asia looks good.
Yeah, but with your heart condition, we're going to have to find specialist travel insurance.
It's not a worry.
And your age. They're going to take that into account as well.
Not a worry.
You're very relaxed about it all.
I am. Because it's all clear.
All clear?
All clear travel insurance.
What makes all clear so good?
They're specialists. Look, they've helped cover over 2.5 million people with over 1,300 medical conditions.
So all clear, do it all?
It's true. That's why all clear say all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations. And they're great value too.
Well, you've got it all sorted.
Not all sorted. You know what I'm like at packing.
Yeah. You left all your pants at home last year.
All clear travel insurance, all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations, always great value. Check our 20% savings offer. Call 0808 178 2706 or visit our website.
This vacation has been a year in the planning. And here you are, standing, nay, staring down your dreams. The rest of your holiday hinges on the moment you walk through that door. The door opens. You hold your breath. And then you realize you got it right. You got it booking right. Because it doesn't get any better than this. It doesn't get any booking better than this. Look at the view. Look at the booking view. This is exactly what you booking needed. Bask in the booking glory at over 250,000 properties. Planet Earth's #1 accommodation site, Booking.com.
Yeah. Once upon a time, there was a land where the sun was sacred. That land was Egypt. Today, Egyptians offer you their most precious treasure, the sun. Nothing compares to Egypt.
Have you ever looked for a hotel online? Did you notice that there's so many prices out there for the exact same room? Well, Trivago does the work for you and instantly compares prices for over 600,000 hotels from over 100 different websites. So instead of searching for hours and spending too much, Trivago makes it easy to find the ideal hotel for the best price. Just go to Trivago.com, type in where you want to go, and with 2 clicks, select your check-in, your check-out dates, and search. It's that simple. Trivago searches hundreds of websites at the same time and shows you the most popular hotels. You can adjust the price so that it fits in with your budget, and select the number of stars, or filter by average guest rating from over 34 million reviews. Remember, Trivago shows you all the different prices for the exact same room. That's how you can be sure that you find the ideal hotel for the best price with Trivago.com. Hotel? Trivago.
Welcome back. You're listening to Shebs Alarm on Rise and Shine, your only way to kickstart your morning. On Gallivant Radio, the only travel radio station in Africa where you can discover Africa's vibrant travel industry. Now, remember to follow us on all of our socials. As usual, Gallivant Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. Please do follow us. We would like to grow and be part of a footprint on people's mindsets, I guess, all around the world. Remember to follow me as well, at Shebs the Wanderer. You can get in touch with me on my email address as well, shebs@gallivant.africa. That's shebs@gallivant.africa. Love to hear from you. I will, as I said to you, get back to you if you do get in touch. Now, before the break, I was talking to you about, well, all sorts of stuff really, in terms of just working hard and the perception Sade gave us in terms of Sierra Leone and neighbouring countries not realising what's going on in parts of Africa. So if they don't know, what hope does it give for people like, well, countries like us, myself anyway, that I'm living in the UK. But that's our goal really. Hopefully we can, this is a travel radio station of course, but I think it's important to discuss topics and promote an African country, and this is what we want to do. So thank you for listening. I really do appreciate having you guys on, and it's a journey, as I've said, that I am taking and hoping to grow Gallivant Radio. Gallivant Radio is still a startup. We infants, as I've said to you in the past. We've not even reached a couple of years yet, so it's time for us to really kick on and really inspire people and get people having goals. And I've mentioned before that if you want to be part of the travel industry, you might think it's a luxury, or you might even think, is it even an industry to be in? It's just people jet setting, enjoying life, not really working. Absolutely not true. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. Sometimes you have backaches and aches and pains all over your body because of all the hard work that you've put in, and this is a perception that we also need to change within people's minds in terms of travel is you can make a career out of it. And there's people that I know that have been in the industry for 20, 30, 40 years, and just imagine what it was like. Just imagine what it was like to be in the industry even 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I guess there was no such thing as social media. I think now it's so much more easier to travel because of all the technology that we have. But just imagine what it was like 20 years ago. And I remember when I first travelled on a plane, I was 6 years old. I remember it vividly. And I remember that time I went away with my parents that was the first time I travelled on a plane, and we went to Bangladesh, which is my heritage. And I just remember that trip. I remember the journey on a plane. It was amazing, the feeling, and to be in a place that was away from my home, which was the UK of course, but then I was discovering a land where my parents grew up, and we spent a few months there just exploring. I guess it was for me to understand where my parents came from, and I might be very fortunate in a position to be living in the UK, although people who know my story have not been fortunate. Well, I guess say fortunate, but my story growing up is not as what's the word I'm looking for, privileged as you may think. It's been a lot of hard work for my parents for them to get to the position where they have got to. So, but it was I've been talking about hard work all hour. I guess it was my parents who instilled in me that if you want to achieve something in life, you have to work at it. And my parents, I know, have slogged. My dad especially slogged all his life. He emigrated from Bangladesh to the United Kingdom and set out a goal to provide for his family, for his family in Bangladesh still. And he achieved, I would say, his dream. And That is what I take away from him. I look at my mother, a very strong individual, mentally. My goodness. I mean, all of my family, I can say hand on heart, the resilience a lot of these individuals have, I hope they're listening, is phenomenal. And I think that's where I have got my determination to succeed. And I said to you already that my degree, which was in the arts, I did media, photography, I did a bit of painting in my time and filmed things, and I never thought, well, when I took on the degree, did I ever think that there was going to be a job waiting for me? No, I didn't. But I knew it would be a slog, it would be hard work, and you could almost say I guess I've got there eventually, in terms of this is a dream, by the way, to do this job. I mean, did I ever think I was going to be hosting my own show? Absolutely not. Has technology played a part in it? Yes, of course, as I've already said. If it wasn't for the socials, I wouldn't be sitting here. But I had the mindset, and this is what I've been telling you. Mindset is really important. And you go back to my parents' mindset, all they knew was they had to work. You have to work to achieve something, and that is a legacy it should be engraved in someone. If you want to achieve something, you have to work hard. And I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for the hard work that I put in. Nothing, believe me when I say this, nothing was handed to me. I've had to work for absolutely everything just to get a millimeter up that ladder. That is something that is not easy. It takes time and it takes dedication to achieve what you want to achieve in your career. You still may not be in that position, but just remember, you might be working, let's just say, in a restaurant today. You might be working as a cleaner today. But never lose hope. Never lose that hope of achieving that dream, because you might just get there one day. And this is what I always say to people, by the way. Treat people the way that you would treat your own, as if they're your own family, even if they might be, I don't know, a cleaner. And I've seen many people dismiss people or talk down to them because they not be on the same level as them. But you just don't know their background. They could be studying to become a doctor, a surgeon, or anything. And for you to dismiss them is not what society really wants. And as I've said to you already, they could be working towards a career that is going to define them, and you could be looking back and going, my goodness, I knew that person. Because sometimes there's a saying, isn't there? The way you treat people on the way up are the ones that you're going to meet on the way down. Is that how you say it? The way you treat people on the way up. Treating people on the way up or something. I don't know. I've forgotten. I've lost the tracks. I think I said it right, but I don't know. Anyway, we got Megan Chapa coming up on the next hour. Stay with us. You've been listening to Shebs on Rise and Shine, the only dedicated travel radio station in Africa, Gallivant Radio, where you can discover Africa's vibrant travel industry.
upon a time, there was a land where the sun was sacred. That land was Egypt. Today, Egyptians offer you their most precious treasure, the sun. Nothing compares to Egypt.
This vacation has been a year in the planning. And here you are, standing, nay, staring down your dreams. The rest of your holiday hinges on the moment you walk through that door. The door opens. You hold your breath. And then you realize you got it right. You got it booking right. Because it doesn't get any better than this. It doesn't get any booking better than this. Look at the view. Look at the booking view. This is exactly what you booking needed. Bask in the booking glory at over 250,000 properties. Planet Earth's #1 accommodation site. Booking.com.
Yeah. So where do you fancy then?
Asia looks good.
Yeah, but with your heart condition, we're going to have to find specialist travel insurance.
It's not a worry.
And your age. They're going to take that into account as well.
Not a worry.
You're very relaxed about it all.
I am. Because it's all clear.
All clear?
All clear travel insurance.
What makes all clear so good?
They're specialists. Look, they've helped cover over 2.5 million people with over 1,300 medical conditions.
So all clear, do it all?
It's true. That's why all clears say all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations. And they're great value too.
Well, you've got it all sorted.
Not all sorted. You know what I'm like at packing.
Yeah. You left all your pants at home last year.
All clear travel insurance, all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations, always great value. Check our 20% savings offer. Call 0808 178 2706 or visit our website.
Have you ever looked for a hotel online? Did you notice that there's so many prices out there for the exact same room? Well, Trivago does the work for you and instantly compares prices for over 600,000 hotels from over 100 different websites. So instead of searching for hours and spending too much, Trivago makes it easy to find the ideal hotel for the best price. Just go to Trivago.com, type in where you want to go, and with 2 clicks, select your check-in, your checkout dates, and search. It's that simple. Trivago searches hundreds of websites at the same time and shows you the most popular hotels. You can adjust the price so that it fits in with your budget, and select the number of stars, or filter by average guest rating from over 34 million reviews. Remember, Trivago shows you all the different prices for the exact same room. That's how you can be sure that you find the ideal hotel for the best price with Trivago.com. Hotel? Trivago.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine. You're listening to Shebs on the only dedicated travel radio station in Africa, Gallivant Radio, where you can discover Africa's vibrant travel industry. Remember, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Gallivant.radio on Instagram, Gallivant Radio, and all the other platforms. You can also follow me at Shebs the Wanderer, and you can email us if you want to email us about today's guest as well, which I'll bring on shortly, Megan Chapa. My email address is shebs@gallivant.africa. Now, as I've been building her up all morning, we're going to bring on, she's known for her podcasting, but she has a lot more knowledge in the industry than you might, she might tell you, but let's bring her on. So, and that's Megan Chapa. Megan, how are you?
Good. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. I know you've been very busy with everything, with the work and life, with your kids as well. So you're based in America. Whereabouts in the States are you based in?
Yeah. So I am currently sitting outside of Washington, D.C. in the dark because it's about 6:13 and it's crisp and clear. But I'm in Virginia. So if you look at the map, it just about touches the city, but it's actually a very nice green kind of like more suburban area. So yeah, East Coast, and it's 6:13 a.m.
Wonderful. I know I've been to Washington. I've not been to where you have. And by the way, I do have plans to visit the United States next month.
Oh,
So yes, the East Coast was this is the funny thing. Now that I've done a lot of podcasting, the radio, I've got a lot of connections in the States and New York. Everyone seems to be in New York. And when I mentioned to some of my friends, I want to be heading over, I had literally about 10 people say to me, oh, you can stay with us. You can stay with us. You can stay with us. And I'm like,
yes.
oh, wow. Okay. So I've got that many
Yeah.
places. I don't have to pay for a hotel then. But know
In New York,
me,
that's a good offer. You have to take
that
them
is
up
a
on it.
very good offer. I was looking at some of the prices actually, and I thought to myself, "Goodness me, that's expensive for middle of
Yeah.
Manhattan." Saying that, by the way, one of the things I've spoke about on my show is when I've solo traveled on how to budget travel, and recently I was in one of our papers here in the UK where I spoke about how to budget travel, and I actually stayed in Manhattan for, believe it or not, $20 the last time I came over a night.
Did you steal a couch cushion and sleep
No,
in an alley?
it was a proper hotel. We were in Manhattan, and it was, I guess, we say uptown Manhattan. So it was like 90th Street. I think it was like
Sure.
256. So it was near towards the top of, let's just say, Central Park. And but I had no issues. Every morning there was no breakfast included in the hotel, so it was just literally. The hotel, by the way, had like toilet showers, ensuite and stuff, and but there's no breakfast or anything. But each morning we left the hotel, and there's like a nice little cafe just down the
I was
road for
gonna
like.
say the
I was like,
food in New York, though, it's so good,
oh
right?
yeah, and I remember the bagels. You guys love your bagels, and
Do
that
you
was
know
the
that's
first.
what I tell people to bring when they come? When we were living in England, they'd say, "What do you want?" I want bagels. Like I want Philadelphia or New York bagels because people come visit us from both. I'm like, just stuff your suitcase. You'll bring souvenirs back, but you bring me bagels. So.
Oh yeah, bagels. Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a lot of friends. So stay tuned. I'll be in touch if I am over there. Let's meet up in person so we can discuss more travel stuff. But we're going to be discussing your time in Africa, and also you've been doing some research into why perhaps it's not as visited as some of the other nations and other continents around the world. So we'll get into that a little bit. But I just want to ask you a little bit more about yourself. So how did you initially get into the world of podcasting, which is what I've been building you up as, but essentially you're a lot more than just a podcasting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I worked in the travel industry because I move a lot, and so I was always traveling. I promise I'll get to the answer. And always planning people's trips and worked planning travel. And while I was planning some of these trips for my clients, I was looking for content to gain more knowledge while I worked. I didn't want video because I think for most people, and YouTube knows this, your eyes will take over. But I'm like, I know I need to research with my eyes, but I want something for my ears. And there was no content that I could find that was interesting, or not a webinar that was super, fact-based, like things that you can't retain because it's so much number heavy content.
Sometimes it's very boring as well.
And I was like, I'm not finding what I want. And then we were privileged to move to Oxford, England for 3 years, of which my clients really wanted me to stay on, but they were on the West Coast of the United States, and they'd be getting up and ready and at work when I need to put my kids to bed. So that planning fell away. But I started podcasting as a way to stay connected with my professional connections, and then meet and build new connections with travel writers and people like yourself. and that's how it kept going. And that's kind of where it is today. It's taken on a couple lives. It's had a couple names. It's currently Travel Radio Podcast, and I was doing individual topics that just appealed to me, or people that were planning trips that if I were to be at a party and tell you about this trip, you would say, my last trip was horrible. I should have taken the one you're describing. So I started to record those sort of things to expand the ideas that people had as to what is possible and what it might be like to work with someone who plans travel and just takes it off your plate. So, because that was who my clients were at the time, and that's what made sense. And so now I work in themes. We did off the beaten track Mexico. I had a fall wine crush one put together, but then all the travel writers and everybody, they were allowed to travel after COVID, so everybody just took off. So that's only partially formed, and the season's kind of passing, so that may not actually come out. But I'm sure you
can still bring that out. It will still be a good episodes to have.
Yeah, I think they'll come out as separate episodes rather than like a series.
A series, yeah.
Yeah, but I like the idea of working in series because you can and I've started to organize them. If you see on Travel Radio Podcast, there's playlists, so you can kind of get your Mexico content, your Europe, your Africa all together, travel writers. So that's how it started. That's how it is now. And I just love the idea of podcasting and really audio in general, because I feel like you can tell someone's countenance, especially even in this radio setting. It's not edited. You could, I don't know, I feel like you can tell something about a person. Like you would have to be really well calculated and planned to dupe somebody, right? It's not like a hard sales. I don't know. I just like the idea of audio. I like the idea of podcasting as like kind of pirate radio. And you can really just talk directly to who you, I know if you were saying your ideal client and they've elected to listen to it,
absolutely.
They have to go out and find it,
And I was going to say to you, you're actually one of the very first podcasters, especially in the travel industry, because even Rick Steves, you have it in the United States, that he didn't even have a podcast when you had a podcast. So you were, I guess, one of the pioneers of podcasting. Because I remember we did a podcast for my podcast, I should say, and you told me that you literally had to tell people what this was.
I couldn't get guests.
Yeah, because they couldn't understand what is a podcast. It's like, but saying that, I actually I was on someone else's show a couple of weeks ago, and he's got a fairly big podcast now, and very well known here, and interviews. If you think some of my guests are good and some of Megan's guests are good, you should see some of his guests. And he was saying to me, people still don't understand what a podcast is. They just don't have an idea. But it's going to be an industry where it's going to boom, and there's prediction it could be in the region of billions. Yeah. But you literally had to convince them to come on, didn't you?
I did, and editing was, there was paranoia of being captured and recorded. Yeah, and like, how do you find a podcast? And and are you sure you're not like wasting your time? This is an emerging technology, and it's exciting, and I want you to get on board. And so that's the thing, is you have to pick the people that want to be on and want to capture that same vision and excitement. But so podcasting like 2014, 2015. I haven't been doing it that long. So if you look at the archives, I can trace back before Rick Steves, but he's dominant in content, and he could take all of his old videos and put them to podcasts and backdate them. Yeah. But at the time, and it was just me, and there was actually another pair of travel agents that had one, but they were doing audio training. And then there was, there was one other one that I can't even remember now, but yeah, basically there wasn't too much going on. So I just created it. And now it's like, everybody's in the water, and it's a big pool, and we all do something a little different. And it's great. It's great to have other travel podcasters, and great to call, other travel podcasters and know that they have a microphone and be like, I have something I want to talk about. I need to work it out with somebody. Can we let's throw record on and let's do it.
Absolutely. And we'll come on to what you might think actually will happen going on forward, because there's been a lot of podcasts that have come up after the break. So stay with us, Megan, and people listening, stay with us as well. You're listening to Shebs Alarm on Rise and Shine on Gallivant Radio.
Sorry to announce, flight number 146 to Malaga is cancelled. Lost luggage means seeing more of your partner this trip.
Visit aatravelinsurance.com or call 0800 009 4799, because holidays break down too.
You don't need travel insurance. You can just leave things in the hands of fate. Or you could just check the box. Protect your trip with Allianz Travel Insurance.
What does your ideal holiday look like? Just imagine it. At Expedia, we're not going to try and guess what it is. Because with our sale now on, and double Nectar points on our huge range of hotels and packages, whatever a holiday means to you, we could make it happen. Expedia. People-shaped travel. Subject to availability, sale and double Nectar points end February the 17th, 2013. Terms and conditions apply. See expedia.co.uk for details. At all protected.
Life's too short to skip vacation. Sometimes you've just got to say,
Book it.
Book it.
Book it.
With an epic range of hotels, houses, yachts, yurts, and more, Booking.com makes it easy to find the perfect place for you.
Booked it. Booked it! Booked it!
So don't skip it, book it at Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
Once upon a time, there was a land where the sun was sacred. That land was Egypt. Today, Egyptians offer you their most precious treasure, the sun. Nothing compares to Egypt.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine. You're listening to Shebs Alarm on the only dedicated travel radio station in Africa, Gallivant Radio. Still with us is Megan Chapa, and she was talking to us about her podcast. And we were going to go into a little bit. I was going to ask you a question actually before the break, but I'll ask you it now.
Sure.
So there's been a lot. You've been in this game now for a while, and you've done, as you're saying, you've done many series. And I was going to ask you, but I will come on to that in a second as well, about a series on Africa. But can I ask you, there has been a lot of podcasts that have come out, and I mean tons. And do you feel as though, because I've seen quite a few that have actually dropped off since the initial pandemic, because there was a lot that started, and some of them haven't been able to keep momentum, or I guess get the guests really. Do you feel as though there's going to be a massive drop off, and then the ones that have really stuck to it and potentially have made a career out of it, they will succeed? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we met maybe at the very beginning of the pandemic.
Yes, we did.
And that's something that I kind of predicted would happen. Yeah, because I set about trying to convince travel magazines to, essentially like audio, turn their existing stories into audio, or can I consult with you and do this because this is great stuff? And then a lot of them picked up podcasts, and then a lot of them picked up more than one podcast. And then either it was like we thought we'd just flip on a microphone and have listeners, but there's actually a little bit of, there's some storytelling and some gamesmanship to be had as far as making an interesting audio craft or interview. And travel writers don't necessarily translate into travel podcasters because they have days and weeks to plot across a piece of paper or their computer. Audio is a little bit more concise.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the travel bloggers and everybody that got locked down, they had an energy to put out, and they put it into podcasts, which is great. But that's the thing about travel. Like, people get itchy feet and they want to go.
Yeah.
And then it gets really hard to sit down and bang these things out, because podcasts are audio intensive or time intensive. But I also feel like, hey, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about giving up your podcast, like, done is better than perfect. Don't sweat the editing. And is okay. It makes you human. We get it. We do the same things. So I hope that there is a culling of sorts, and that the, what I'm trying to say, algorithms drop off the things that haven't been producing, or just prioritize them less, so that the things that are current keep rising to the top. So there's definitely going to be some fall away, and I don't want anybody to like fail, but I do want the people who have, I should say, like career ambitions, such as yourself, and you're doing well, and people that do a good job and have integrity to put together a product and a message that's trying to be, genuine and authentic to represent the thing in front of them, faithfully, that those things just rise to the top. So yeah, I think there's going to be some falling away, but I think that what I would hope is that now we have proof of concept, and that powerhouses like magazines and websites that have a big presence and can push out these things will scoop up some of these persistent and continual performers. So yeah, there's going to be a falling away, and there's just going to be, it's like when you type in all-inclusive resort, you get 500 resorts. That's what we're looking at right now. So hopefully, as far as podcasts go, hopefully some of those things are going to start to fall to the bottom,
I was going to say to you, I've noticed my podcast, and I don't know whether Google has recognized, but Google has now, for example, they've written like the title of my podcast, which is Take a Wander with Shebs. They've actually physically written it now. I was like, oh my God, that's actually, they've done this, and they've got the description and they've got my logo, because it wasn't the case. And I'm starting to rank higher because I'm consistent every week. I've got something coming out. And I was going to say to you, was it a bit of a frustration then, because you've been part of this business or game now for 4 or 5 years, and then did it have a negative impact, or did you feel as though this is competition, let's thrive on that competition, make mine still the best out there in terms of travel anyway?
Yeah, sure. I'm fairly competitive, but I also I don't know that there's room for everyone, but there's room for, people that identify with me aren't necessarily going to identify with you. Like, people don't want a middle-aged white woman if they're looking for the backpacker Shebs and his, hacking trips. Like, I'm traveling with a family, and that doesn't appeal to them. My life perspective may not appeal to them. But there are certain things you can do to be consistent and rank higher, like edit, have sound quality, have guests that are authentic, for lack of a better word. But yeah, when they all started coming out, I just thought there's no reason to panic, because they don't necessarily want to do what I want to do, and the conversations they're having aren't the things that I want to have. And the world is so big, like there's enough people for each of us. And and in the sponsorship game, if I don't want to convince a sponsor, I don't want to convince them. I want to give them exactly what I can give them, and not inflate that, so that they're happy and we can continue a relationship.
Yeah, make it as authentic as possible. That's what you're trying to.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so if they want that other person, I can't do what that person's doing. You should sponsor that person. So yeah, there's competition. It helps me be better, and it actually sharpens my ideas for future things. And also I might hear them say, "Oh, they did that better than me," and I want to improve myself there. But I don't want to, I'm not one of these people that's going to go negative review scouting and start putting 1 stars on people's podcasts. And that's the other thing, is the algorithms change, right? Some days you want
Absolutely,
stars. Some days you want reviews. Some days you want shares in order to populate higher. And that'll drive you mad. I think if you can be that content in putting out a good product and working hard, does have to be like some navel gazing and self promotion. That's true, but it doesn't have to be at the detriment or expense of the other podcasts. So, yeah, things are going to go forward. But hey, man, I don't want to derail you from your Africa conversation because
no, not at all.
Yeah.
This is good because it shows you a little bit about your story. I was going to ask you as well, by the way, that you said did you do a Africa series, or have you not quite got to an African series on your podcast?
I haven't gotten to a dedicated series. I've made a playlist. So if you're on Travel Radio Podcast, you go into playlist. The podcasts that we've touched on Africa are there, and we've done a couple safari ones. I've done guerrilla backpacking in Rwanda, South African wine tourism. A really interesting one with a lady named Priscilla, and she is doing a Ghana heritage tour. She started researching her ancestry and has traced her family lineage. Her grandmother was a slave, actually, a freed slave in the South. And if you want to watch me cry, it's on video because we were interviewing, and she's had this conversation with her family since she was 11, and but it just hit me. And so she and I are it was a really good conversation, and it led to her, gathering a group of her friends and family that had always said, we've always wanted to see people that look like us. What did they eat? What did they do? And let's explore that. So now she has a heritage tour going to Ghana, so that one is there, and it's really interesting. It's going to be 2022, and so those things are all in that playlist. But so that's as far as that has gone, with future hopes and plans. But that's where that is at the moment.
We never know. People listening in today might think I want to go on Megan's show. So potentially you might have people from an African background that might be interested in coming on. So you just never know. And talking of Africa itself, so yourself, you have traveled to Africa and actually lived in a certain part of Africa. So tell us a little bit about your initial first thoughts before you went, and then the perception you had when you traveled to, and where was it that you stayed? Or lived, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So my college, which is now a university in central Pennsylvania, which is rural rolling hills, farmers, the Amish people are there, Mennonites. Messiah College, now university, partnered with actually, I think, a university from Japan, and they helped. They lent the accreditation, but now the university in Kenya, which is Daystar University, they're their own accredited university, but in the partnership to start up, that's how that worked. And there was like a partnership between the universities. And so they had, I don't know how long it had been open at the time, but they had a couple classes of students exchange. And so Messiah is really big on exchange programs for their students. And if they can get you into 1, 2, 3, 4 in a different country throughout your time in university, that's, they think that it's great for you as a student and as a human in the world, and they want to encourage that. So, I went into the study. I was going
to say to you, Megan. So, stay there for a second. I want to bring you back on, ask you a little bit about when you wanted to, I guess, go to Africa. So, stick with us. We'll be back after these short messages.
Once upon a time, there was a land where the sun was sacred. That land was Egypt. Today, Egyptians offer you their most precious treasure, the sun. Nothing compares to Egypt.
This vacation has been a year in the planning. And here you are, standing, nay, staring down your dreams. The rest of your holiday hinges on the moment you walk through that door. The door opens. You hold your breath. And then you realize you got it right. You got it booking right. Because it doesn't get any better than this. It doesn't get any booking better than this. Look at the view. Look at the booking view. This is exactly what you booking needed. Bask in the booking glory at over 250,000 properties. Planet Earth's #1 accommodation site, Booking.com.
Yeah. So where do you fancy then?
Asia looks good.
Yeah, but with your heart condition, we're going to have to find specialist travel insurance.
It's not a worry.
And your age. They're going to take that into account as well.
Not a worry.
You're very relaxed about it all.
I am. Because it's all clear.
All clear?
All clear travel insurance.
What makes all clear so good?
They're specialists. Look, they've helped cover over 2.5 million people with over 1,300 medical conditions.
So all clear, do it all?
It's true. That's why all clear say all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations. And they're great value too.
Well, you've got it all sorted.
Not all sorted. You know what I'm like at packing.
Yeah. You left all your pants at home last year.
All clear travel insurance, all medical conditions, all ages, all destinations, always great value. Check our 20% savings offer. Call 0808 178 2706 or visit our website.
Have you ever looked for a hotel online? Did you notice that there's so many prices out there for the exact same room? Well, Trivago does the work for you and instantly compares prices for over 600,000 hotels from over 100 different websites. So instead of searching for hours and spending too much, Trivago makes it easy to find the ideal hotel for the best price. Just go to Trivago.com, type in where you want to go, and with 2 clicks, select your check-in, your checkout dates, and search. It's that simple. Trivago searches hundreds of websites at the same time and shows you the most popular hotels. You can adjust the price so that it fits in with your budget, and select the number of stars, or filter by average guest rating from over 34 million reviews. Remember, Trivago shows you all the different prices for the exact same room. That's how you can be sure that you find the ideal hotel for the best price with Trivago.com. Hotel? Trivago.
What does your ideal holiday look like? Just imagine it. At Expedia, we're not going to try and guess what it is. Because with our sale now on, and double Nectar points on our huge range of hotels and packages, whatever a holiday means to you, we could make it happen. Expedia. People-shaped travel. Subject to availability, sale and double Nectar points end February the 17th, 2013. Terms and conditions apply. See expedia.co.uk for details. At all protected.
You don't need travel insurance. You can just leave things in the hands of fate. Or you could just check the box. Protect your trip with Allianz Travel Insurance.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine. You're listening to Shebs on the only dedicated travel radio station in Africa, Gallivant Radio, and Megan is still with us. Just before the break, she was going into, moving across to Africa, and she was talking about her college, which is now a university, giving exchange programs. So you were saying that they encouraged and they wanted you to go out to. So tell us how you got into the mindset of going to Africa then.
Well, it was at the time, it was a very early internet, this is pre-cell phones. It's like going into a travel agency. It was just a wall of brochures. And, it's a sea of the European brochures. Yes, the cities have their own distinctions, but it was old walls, everything charming, right? You live in England. This is what it looks like. Okay. And then there's just like this brochure of like, beautiful people and colors and animals, and it clearly stood out. And the question for my family and friends was, why Africa? And I said, Europe is there. Europe is not changing like Africa is changing. This is however I see Africa now. When I come back in the future, I will never see it like this again. I want to go experience Africa and see and see kind of like, I don't want to say like, because it's not unmolested. It's been worked as we know, by groups of peoples, but it's in its evolutionary path, and I wanted to see there and experience it. And my family, they weren't world travelers like that, so it's not like I had a draw to Europe and knew that the wine was good or something like that. It was just, that's what I felt. I feel like this is, and I was a backpacker, Shebs, like you, and I was like, this is, and the pictures of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and things. I ended up climbing Mount Kenya, not Mount Kilimanjaro, but I was like, this is nature, and these are beautiful people, and I want to go and live a little. I thought maybe a little more simply, because I was having some kind of culture shock from my classes and being overwhelmed by commercialism, and I thought maybe this was a different and good choice. And anyway, I think it was, and so that's in Kenya, they're so huge now. Yes, but they had a little campus, a business campus in Nairobi, and then outside of Nairobi is Athi River, which was a very small town and now appears to be quite built up. I have not been back in 20 years, and I always say, and this I think leads into one of the other things we're going to talk about, that you say you're going to get back there, and then the time, given an average American's 2-week vacation and expense, and now toting children, it becomes logistically pretty cumbersome. So, and expensive. So that's why I haven't been back, which I regret. But my children are animal lovers and people lovers and playful, and they want to go. So there's some things that and also because we move more than average, and so every 2 or 3 years I'm moving house, and that takes a toll on a person.
Of course.
As far as like your time, like I'd like to be vacationing, I'm unpacking boxes. So
of course. Yeah. And can I ask you, whilst you were there in Kenya, and just tell us how long you were there for in total. What
about
did you
4.5 months?
4.5. What did you, I guess, learn about yourself when you were there? Did you realize, my goodness, me living in the United States, this is a whole new world that I just would not have, unless I traveled out here, I would not have got to have experienced unless I came out here. What did you feel once you went back to the United? Did it change you for life?
Yes, 100%. I really had what I was calling like poverty shock. I don't know if this is a real thing, but I was calling it poverty shock in the sense that, not that we were living, destitute at the dorm, but that I came back to, I'm one of 5 children, and everyone was still in the home except for me. And, we all played sports, and we had musical instruments, and, my parents are generous, but my parents are not, like, we are not some of the worst offenders out there for sure, but just coming home to so much stuff when I had, a perfectly adequate amount of clothes and things, but just, when I was living in Kenya, I had a clear, inventory of all the things that I owned, and it was simple to manage. And I got home, and I came home to boxes of things I hadn't looked at in years and just stored up. And it was just like, and then I went to go back to my college, and I knew how much the tuition was. And I said, how can I justify this? How many people could I feed off of this? And, I don't know that I can justify going back to school. I have to take some time and have a different plan. And so I actually disenrolled from my college for 6 months. Okay. And then, settled some time, and it really had some women and my mother that really prayed with me a lot and did some pretty intense soul searching, and I ended up re-enrolling and graduating. But it was like the best experience, and also like a really grounding experience that I think has set me up well now for like a life looking for service and to be usable by people. I think in a good way. So, I don't know. That's the
I was going to say, definitely had a life changing moment then in terms of your outlook in life. And I guess the question I want to come on to, and this is something that we discussed prior to you coming on, and look to see why, because if you've had that magical experience, and I've had very similar experience when I went to Africa, why is it then that not as many people visit, I guess, from the United States, because you're from the United States, but generally around the world? Because if I look at the statistic, we've only got maybe 69 million people visiting in a year, pre-pandemic, I should say, to the entire continent, and Morocco and Egypt gets the vast majority, so they get around about 30 million, and Americas get 220. Europe itself gets 740 in terms of 740 million. Why do you think, and you've done some research on this, why do you think people avoid Africa? And you mentioned a few things here and there about getting maybe the culture shock and maybe poverty. What's your findings and what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. So I do. So I did have a travel professional, actually from the UK. So that's not quite the right demographic, but she said it was for her trying to convince her clients to go. She thought that they thought it was going to be dirty, and and that's not what they were. That's not what they were looking for in their getaway. And then for the American counterparts, but Shebs, I don't. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to give her like 10 votes. I'm going to give her 1 vote, right? Because I'm looking at her feed, and it's the things she sells high-end luxury. So her clients are looking for. Not that you can't get high-end luxury in Africa, but on the onset, her clients have a different thing that they're looking for. So and she might. That was an Instagram comment, so she might. Who knows how off the cuff that was, but. And my American counterparts, there's a couple bullet points that I think are probably dominant, and then some that are a little more insidious that we're not thinking of, but probably are true. So, another gal that I interact with a lot, she's really concerned about the history books and the erasing of African impact in the world.
Okay.
And she thinks that, there's an article from The Guardian she sent me. I'll send it to you. Send it to you. It's pretty good. And, we know that that's true. We know that Europeans are given credit, and that she wants them to be able to tie it back to Africa and see, where some of this beauty is originating and bring it back to the people of Africa. She thinks that we've glossed over that in the history books, and so children aren't. It's just not planted in them early that there's something to go and do and see there.
Yeah.
So, and that's probably true. I don't think that necessarily adult Americans recognize that that's in there, or that we've done that in their curriculum. I think as an adult that's in a typical work life, that their 2 weeks is like, the song "I'm Living for the Weekend."
Yeah.
Right? I'm living for my 2-week vacation, and I need to pack in as much as I can. And if you're commuting 24, 36 hours potentially to get to, that's
a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. And then the logistics of it, and potentially, I think the language barrier can be a hang up for people. And that's why Europe is easy.
I was going to say to Megan, we'll come back onto this. Just give us a few minutes. Just to go back to go into the messages. So stay with us on Gallivant Radio.
Have you ever looked for a hotel online? Did you notice that there's so many prices out there for the exact same room? Well, Trivago does the work for you and instantly compares prices for over 600,000 hotels from over 100 different websites. So instead of searching for hours and spending too much, Trivago makes it easy to find the ideal hotel for the best price. Just go to Trivago.com, type in where you want to go, and with 2 clicks, select your check-in, your check-out dates, and search. It's that simple. Trivago searches hundreds of websites at the same time and shows you the most popular hotels. You can adjust the price so that it fits in with your budget, and select the number of stars, or filter by average guest rating from over 34 million reviews. Remember, Trivago shows you all the different prices for the exact same room. That's how you can be sure that you find the ideal hotel for the best price with Trivago.com. Hotel? Trivago.
Once upon a time, there was a land where the sun was sacred. That land was Egypt. Today, Egyptians offer you their most precious treasure, the sun. Nothing compares to Egypt.
This vacation has been a year in the planning. And here you are, standing, nay, staring down your dreams. The rest of your holiday hinges on the moment you walk through that door. The door opens. You hold your breath. And then you realize you got it right. You got it booking right. Because it doesn't get any better than this. It doesn't get any booking better than this. Look at the view. Look at the booking view. This is exactly what you booking needed. Bask in the booking glory at over 250,000 properties. Planet Earth's #1 accommodation site. Booking.com.
Yeah. What does your ideal holiday look like? Just imagine it. At Expedia, we're not going to try and guess what it is. Because with our sale now on, and double Nectar points on our huge range of hotels and packages, whatever a holiday means to you, we could make it happen. Expedia. People-shaped travel. Subject to availability, sale and double Nectar points end February the 17th, 2013. Terms and conditions apply. See expedia.co.uk for details. At all protected.
You don't need travel insurance. You can just leave things in the hands of fate. Or you could just check the box. Protect your trip with Allianz Travel Insurance.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine. You're listening to Shebs Alarm on Gallivant Radio. We still have Megan Chapa with us, and we were talking about Americans and why they haven't travelled to the continent of Africa. And we were talking about the 2-week vacation times that they have. You pack everything that you have in your suitcase, off you go. And if you're travelling for 36 hours, that's a lot of time. And we just about going into logistics, and you were saying Europe is an easier spot. So continue with your story. And
so
go ahead.
There's one of the travel agents that I like to work with and interview when I'm researching things. Her name is Julia from Julia's Way, Travel Julia's Way. That's her website. And she does, first of all, she's in love with Rwanda. She's actually probably there right now. She was, where she said? She says, I'm at Tin Swallow Safari Lodge. That's where she is. So looks like she's in Namibia. So she keeps going back to Africa because she loves it so much. She wants to encourage her clients to go there because she started with a French, like she speaks French. She majored in French. All of her clients go to France. And she's like, I need a new offering for my high-end clients. They don't know what they're missing in Africa. And so she jet sets there all the time if she can. And she blows up her Instagram feed because she wants people to understand. And because, for her, it's a curiosity point and she's opening their eyes to it and they're all having fun discovering together. Where she gets hung up, she says, I always tell 10 people you need a minimum of 10 days and about $10,000 per person to do a trip well. Obviously, trips can go for more, much more, and sometimes less, but that's fairly standard. But when people think that they have an equally good time in Europe or South America without the commute and potentially half the price, that can really sway them. And then, of course, Mexico and the Caribbean are so much cheaper, easier, closer.
Yeah.
So that, and she said, I can quote her to the moon and back. So I've got paragraphs. And I think that's more of the gist rather than the insidiousness of trying to erase an African culture. Mm-hmm. But again, if we're not bringing it up here, adults won't think to do it. But she's an encouraging point in the sense that it's exciting to her, and she wants a new offering for her client, and she is literally demonstrating to them how amazing it is. So
I guess I go on to this is something again I've spoken to some of my other guests. It's the expense of Africa. That's where if you can go to South America and have just as equally as good time as you may do in certain parts of Africa, and for half the price, then you're probably going to think to yourself, right? Okay, if I can save myself half the money here, I can go on another trip another time. I think that's where it's that. And I must admit, when I traveled to Africa, it was a very expensive time. It wasn't cheap. And one of the things and this is something I've been trying to discuss with certain ministers. I'm trying to get people from the tourism boards, airline boards, to talk to them about is why is traveling between countries really expensive? Because I can give you my example. I flew to Malta only a couple of weeks ago for £25. Mm-hmm. We're talking about, and then I flew from Malta to Greece for €14. So until I guess but then the numbers I gave you before, 69 million, they might think, well, if we're only getting this many people in at this moment, we've got to put everything up. But the way they have to look at it is for them to make, this is just my opinion, but for them to encourage people to come, drop the prices. Because if you want to do a gorilla safari in Uganda or Rwanda, it's, I believe it's nearly a couple of $1,000, and you only spend a couple of hours there, and that's a lot of money for people that have worked hard, especially during a COVID pandemic where it's been, you've been stuck inside, cooped inside.
Sure.
And you might think, do I really want to spend that money on like a couple of hour, I guess, and that's what it maybe comes down to, and not necessarily what you were saying there with your first comment from someone. It's dirty. No, not necessarily true. It could be just the fact that it's just really far, and also just the expense.
Yeah. Well, we have dirt and sweat and heat everywhere, so everywhere's going to be
exactly.
Everywhere, I sweat no matter where I am. It's fine. I get it is. To me, for bringing my children, it's a huge expense, and that is for me at the moment. It's time also, but the expense of $40,000 for 2 weeks. That's that's a house. Not where I live, but that's a big
of course
expense.
Well, you can put down, I guess you could put down that for a mortgage, can't you? Especially here in the UK, where you can buy your first house or something with that much money, and that's where we have to find ways to work with tourism boards and see how we can get them down.
Yeah, and I'm all about so for me, if my husband and I were to go away, like we took the trip on the Queen Mary 2. We actually moved to England that way, which was a great way to get all of our stuff, because you can do there's
Of
tons
course,
of storage
yeah.
and our dog, and move across the country. And
Great
the kids
way.
got a time zone per day, so they woke up and they were in the right time zone, and that was great. It's ultra high luxury. That was a treat. I don't have I want to be welcomed with a clean place to stay, and for it to be safe. And I need, water and just places to bathe and change and have some privacy. And, ideally, if air conditioning is an option in a city, that'd be great. But if I'm, on safari, I get it. But it doesn't have to be, I just don't need ultra luxury all the time. Like, that's not the thing that's going to draw me in when I see your brochure. Like, I just want to go to sleep with my children being safe, which is not Africa's problem. That's everywhere's problem for me, because I'm a mom, so I think that there maybe is a middle ground tier between camping on the ground and ultra high luxury, and maybe this is in existence and I don't know. That can be exploited better, because if there was a middle road price point, that could help me get there. Because I can't, my kids do not appreciate luxury. If it was just me and my husband, let us go live it up. But I want my children to experience it. My son is gaga for animals. And, he's going to actually take over and run the tour and tell you all about them. But he wants to, but he doesn't care if it's satin or linen or whatever it is, and because for me, it's the people and the place and the animals and the culture. And if I can come back to someplace clean, I guess it's finding a balance of, where is the money? I don't know. What am I paying? I don't know. It's a balance.
Absolutely. And this debate can go on for years and years and years. And I think until I was in a summit a couple of months ago. Might have been just before September starting, and discussions were being had about what can be done now that we're coming out of this pandemic to an extent, even though I've been reading some stories about potentially, and it could affect the African Tourism Board again, or African tourism. I hope not anyway, but we're just talking about what can be done, and this is time to be at the forefront and rise and shine in front of everyone, and have people come. But the biggest issue is going to be the affordability, and that is where we can have those debates for years and years, and hear your stories, hear my story. And as I said to you, it was expensive for me, and when I compare it to my trip to Europe, where obviously I'm living in Europe, and it's easier to travel to, and the last couple of trips now I've done in Europe, I've barely spent, combined, 2,000, I think it was £2,000 combined, and I was away for over a couple of months now. So it's those are things that we will have to sort of look into, and it's going to be fascinating. Now, we haven't got much time left, Megan, so I'm going to ask you quickly, what is your plans for the rest of the year and early next year, and also where can people find you? You've got a minute left.
It is Megan Chapa. I am at travelradiopodcast.com. I'm working on some playlists. I'm actually interested in playlists for kids who like for children, like kids who like X. Where can they go? And let's help them get there, and have some QA with some experts. And a couple more playlists with travel writers that are I pitched this, but it didn't get published. So let's talk about why that is and bring that story out. And then I've been contacted to build another network. So I'm not sure where things are going, but still in the podcasting world, and happy to dialogue if anybody wants to be in touch. It's info@travelradiopodcast.com. And it was great, Shebs. Glad to be up early with you.
No, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And yes, please, if anyone wants to get in touch with Megan, she's given you all the details to her email as well. So do get in touch. Megan, it's been fantastic having you on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you. And for everyone listening, thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you all soon again. You've been listening to Shebs Alarm on Rise and Shine on Gallivant Radio.